Welcome to another Numismatic Notes with Benjamin. Tonight I'm going to share with you a video that isn't the focus of a single banknote, but is really more of a focus on a single banknote theme. One of the funnest ways to collect banknotes is by theming and having to search literally hundreds of places around the world, all over the internet, for banknotes that fit into that theme. I've done a theme video before. You might have remembered my video on volcanoes that appear on world banknotes. Well, I'm sharing with you tonight an educational banknote theme. One of my favorite themes to collect are children and adults in a classroom or in a learning situation that you can see on banknotes from literally all over the world. And this makes a lot of sense because I am a school teacher. One of the funnest ways to collect is to collect in a way with something that you have a lot of experience with. I have taught here in the state of Oklahoma, students from 3rd to 6th grade, and I've taught in Daejeon, South Korea, students from kindergarten, by the way, to university. A little, shocking at times, but nevertheless fun. I have visited classrooms and interacted with classrooms all over the world in a big way because I used to be a national trainer for Harcourt Publishers' Saxon division. I spent time in hundreds of classrooms all over the United States, including Indian reservations, very tiny schools, very huge schools, many public schools, extremely wealthy private schools, extremely poor public schools, and have experienced students of all kinds. I'll never forget the little boy in New Mexico who said, "Hi, I'm Gene. Who are you?" And I said, "I am Benjamin Swaggerty, and I'm here with Saxon Publishers." He's like, "Are you responsible for that math curriculum?" And I said, "Well, I help implement it." He said, "I don't know if I should shake your hand or kick you in the leg." We both laughed, and I managed to escape the situation unkicked, so I must have indeed made a similar impression. I'll never forget that child, and that's one reason I enjoy to collect students on banknotes is my interactions. In addition to the classrooms in Korea and in the United States, I have been in classrooms in Honduras, in Taiwan, in Mexico, in Jamaica, and I've also visited with classes outside of schools in Israel, both Palestinian classrooms of children and Israeli students. And as a teacher back in the United States, I have had the privilege of being able to teach coin and banknote related classes in Colorado Springs at the ANA summer seminars that are held every summer on the campus of Colorado College. I'm very excited to share these notes with you. I'm not going to have the details on measurements, colorings, and vignettes as I would on one of my single focus videos. But if you have any further questions or you would like to add to this list of banknote themes, of banknotes that carry education, please please subscribe, and please share my YouTube video. Let's get started. First off, I have one of the brand new families of notes from the nation of Kenya. And you can see right there, little kids on computers. And it's a scene that I see often in my classroom because my kids do the same thing. What my friend is looking at is way more interesting than what is on my own device. I enjoy this banknote. Let's see what else I have to show you. So we have Kenya there. And then I had shared this note in another video, but since I knew I was doing this one soon, I just kept it pulled out. This is a much younger class, maybe even kindergarten, and it seems appropriate that it would be a vignette that would appear on a German banknote, in this case an East German banknote, since kindergarten has been a gift to the world from the nation of Germany. The social skills and the play that you see here on these kids' face seem to indicate that they are not part of a society where their children are tested to death, or they weren't a part of a society where their children are tested to death. I'd be hard-pressed to find a kindergarten of kids that looked this happy and this cooperative in their play. I do enjoy the fine lines of the school building behind, and it's a typical two-floor school building. I've seen school buildings that are 4 and 5 stories tall, and I've seen some that are just one story but go on forever and ever. Again, I enjoy the cooperation and the smiling faces on these students. Up next is a little banknote from Laos. And this is a little bit more of a setup that people might be familiar with. Students who appear to be middle school students sitting in a classroom where they have shared desks and they have a teacher instructing them from the front. What's neat about this design is that there is a map, and if you look at the map, you can see Laos. And there is also a blackboard, which surprisingly isn't on every classroom, around the world. Some classrooms out in the bush or some in third world countries have a much smaller blackboard and a much larger class. But education is not something I choose to find fault with. In many nations, there is a huge goal to have a literate population, and teaching anybody how to read or how to do math is only giving them the tools they need to survive in our modern world. I also like that this classroom has windows. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I could function as a teacher if I didn't have a window to look out. The next classroom is one of the bush classrooms that I had shared with you. This is an example of students in Malawi reading, and It looks like a pose scene, but then again, I've never been to Malaya, so maybe they are sitting in the one patch of shade so that they can read in the glare. But nevertheless, it does indicate the nation's hope of educating their next generation. And I think doubly poignant is the fact that the students in this picture appear to be female. In too many cultures, the educational opportunities for women or female children don't match the opportunities available to the male student or the male adult. So I like that Malawi acknowledges that women in education are just as vital and important to their nation as men in education are. It's not just children that need to learn in a classroom. Here's a banknote from Mozambique, and it's one of their earlier banknotes. From 1980, so one of their first ones they issued after becoming a nation. And you see a classroom vignette on the right-hand side of this note. Only instead of children, you see adults who are using lap desks and are becoming literate. It is not too late to learn. My own mother didn't go to university until she was 50, and look at what she's done now. She has surpassed me in her degree. She is a master's, and I'm very proud of her. She's the one who encouraged me to go teach overseas, and I'll never, ever not appreciate having a mother who did her best to push me out of the nest and hold me back into it at the same time. We can thank Mozambique for wanting to educate their adult students. Here's another banknote from Nicaragua, and this was part of their campaign to teach the nation. So you see a bunch of students who may or may not be children, but also young adults, and they are at a bush school at makeshift desks, and they're learning at their school. They might be learning a little bit more than the alphabet. They might be learning some political, what's the word? Propaganda, perhaps. On the chalkboard, we see Sandino vive, no pasarán, luchamos para vencer, which honestly I don't know what it means, but I like to think I can pronounce it pretty good. I have also had some good teachers. Our next note comes from Singapore, and we have a scene of education. Those buildings are some of their high school university scenes. You can see the huge classes, and unlike in the United States, you see every student paying rapt attention to the professor at the lower front. I laugh because I've never been in a class where I've had 100% interest, but I have been in a lot of classes where I have most of the class's interest. Showing next is a banknote from Samoa, and it's not necessarily a classroom scene, but it is a little boy doing his homework. And I'm impressed by the fact that he wants to write nicely, so he's using a straight edge or a ruler to make sure his writing is neat. He's also not using a desk at all, and I marvel at his position and how it has not caused his leg to fall asleep. But I also am like this little boy in the sense that I love to read and I love to write, and I've journaled extensively in my own life, even back as a third grader. I enjoyed writing. Here's my next note. This note is from the nation of Rwanda, and Rwanda has gone through some horrific events in my lifetime, and I certainly hope and pray that Rwanda will never have to go through anything relating to what they had to go through as a nation prior to the turn of the century. I do like that they have a theme of education and that they have children as their focus here. You see children using their laps to do their reading or to perhaps do their lessons. I think it's kind of a neat little picture there. And again, I don't know how normal it is to see students not looking at you when you're doing a drawing or taking a picture, but it is very nice to see that they are appreciating the written word. The next school is from Tonga, and this scene shows a yard full of students in front of a Tongan school. You see some sports on the right hand side, but I think those are adults because this is a vignette that shows the activities and the education of the nation. If you take a look, you can see the classroom is outside, but they're all reading with their teacher seated in the foreground. A lovely, nice, and interesting vignette. And surprising in that no child is breaking the fourth wall by looking exactly at the person who took this picture or drew it. The next scene is actually from a banknote from Thailand, and it's not actually students studying, but it is students leaving their school and walking somewhere else, probably to a place of study. When I lived in Korea, students would spend all day at school, and then they would go to another building where they rented miniature little offices called study bongs, and they would sit there until 10 or 11 o'clock at night and study in a little air-conditioned building at a desk of their own in their own little tiny office. It was very cute to me, and I was pretty impressed. It's easy to keep your apartment clean if you have half the stuff you do outside of the apartment. And in Korea, studying is not always done at home. But what I've noticed in all these vignettes that I've shared with you is a propensity for uniforms. And in many nations around the world, having a uniform not only serves to identify you as a student, it serves to protect you because society tends to take care of the young and the vulnerable among them, especially in terms of school children. If you see a kid in a uniform and it's during the school day, what? You better get that kid to school. Or if you go to a school, you want to have your uniform on so that the guard who locks the gates of the school will actually let you onto the school grounds. Here's the next vignette for you on a banknote of Syria. If you look here at the bottom, central vignette, you can see a classroom. Again, these are children sitting at little wooden desks, but unlike some of the other classrooms, they're using slates, which I'm pretty sure have not been used in the United States since probably the 1950s, maybe 1940s, but nonetheless, I still have a slate that belonged to my mother or my father. I don't really remember who, but you see the little chalk and you see the little erasers and you see a teacher, and I don't know, they might be doing math. Maybe that's what they're using the chalkboards for. And I will admit in my classroom that I use little marker boards and paddles that the kids could write on. So who knows, perhaps it's just the 1960s version of a tablet. It's interesting nonetheless, and it pleases me that even in nations like Syria, education has a high value. Next up is a Zambia banknote You see a school in the background, and you see a teacher assisting a student with a writing assignment. I can't always tell if these are actual photographs that have been engraved, or if they are engraved from memory or not. But nonetheless, I appreciate the vignettes. Now, I started with a Kenyan banknote that showed modernity in education and kids at a computer, and I'm going to end it with another banknote of Kenya as well. In this one, you don't see the modern student. You do see the uniform student, but you see them with their school bags and their school uniforms, but you see them drinking milk, which has been a popular health initiative, and most schools have conveyed the importance of milk in a modern healthy diet for the calcium and the vitamin D that it can provide. And I'm looking at these little cardboard triangle cartons of milk, and I remember the disastrous little baggies that they used to serve milk and juice in Oklahoma City schools, and how relieved I was when they got rid of those. But I see these, and I see happy kids, and they look like they have good bone health. And so with that, I have no more vignettes to share with you, but I wanted to let you know that there are other vignettes from other nations that have student themes on them, including Germany, Angola, Burundi, Cambodia, the Central African states, Ghana, Guatemala, Italy, Indonesia, Ireland, among others. Please add to this list. Please like, comment, click on the purple circle to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Numismatic Notes with Benjamin. I'm Benjamin. Have a jewel of a day.